I'm here with Alex Schadenberg of Euthanasia Prevention Coalition. He's the international relations. We were just talking here about the trends we see in the United States as part of a larger trend of euthanasia, and you laser focus on the euthanasia issue, but in a universal scale.
Yeah, and in the U.S. you've been facing a lot of pressure by the death lobby to legalize assisted suicide. Last year alone, there was 27 states that had assisted suicide legislation or pushes to legalize in some way within their legislatures. And sadly, California voted in favor, and their governor signed the bill. A very, very terrible situation. But, I just want to focus on a few things. The other side is trying to legalize assisted suicide and pressure death upon us. But the fact is that it's all about a lie. They're trying to say to us that, assisted suicide is all about this autonomy and freedom, when in fact what it really does, when you legalize assisted suicide, it gives your doctor the right and law to cause your death. It's not a situation like they're saying at all. This is not about my choice, my autonomy. It's about a doctor having the right to kill you, and that is simply not safe. Right now, there was recently in New Jersey, there was a bill that was the Senate decided not to vote on it, so that was held off. But it's coming back in New Jersey. They're right now debating this in New York. They're pushing hard in Colorado. So there's quite a few states, and in Maine too, where they're pushing this hard. And Americans have to be aware that you're going to have to stop this, or it will not be safe when you become sick. And and they say, oh well, isn't this when people ask for it? Well, if I'm depressed, if I'm going through a difficult time, there's many reasons I might think about that my life has lost value. But what's terrible about this is this gives you, the doctor, actually the right to cause your death and be involved in causing your death. It's not safe.
So help understand, what are we looking at, either both in the trend that you're seeing, but also what can be done by individuals who are viewing. What is it that we can do in order to address this issue of euthanasia in the United States?
Well, people have to get involved, but they have to be willing to tell their stories. A lot of people have good stories, because the other side's gone through telling these sad stories. And there are some sad stories out there, but there's so many people who have good stories to tell. On top of it, we've been working very closely with the disability community, with the medical community, and all different types of people from different walks of life. This is not an issue that is for, religious people alone. It's for everyone to understand how assisted suicide is a threat to your life. But the biggest problem with it is the culture's being sold a bill of goods, which is a lie. It's a lie. They're saying, oh, I would like to have a choice. Well, when your doctor is involved in causing your death and you're very depressed, when was that a choice? When you're going through a terrible medical time, you need support, you need help, you need a doctor who cares about you and is not going to abandon you to lethal drugs. And this is simply not about choice autonomy. This is about a situation which truly threatens people's lives, and it needs to be stopped.
Alex, we had a interview earlier that was speaking about this quality of life as an ethic versus the respect life. And I'm wondering how you would respond to someone who would say, as you hear so often, why is this a general issue? If somebody wants to choose that, why is that anybody else's concern? How do you respond to that sort of private argument of someone choosing their own quality of life to end their own life?
Well, what I always say is that's a false argument, because in fact it's not a private argument. When a doctor, you see, it's different. As sad as many situations are, this is a situation where people are going to have their doctors now involved with causing their death. So it's not a private situation. When did it become a private situation? When a doctor is now involved with giving lethal doses to people and then causing their death. In my own country, my Supreme Court is imposing this on our country, euthanasia, in Canada. They're imposing this on us. So this is not even about our national choice. And on top of it, they're telling doctors you're going to have to do it. It's a ridiculous situation. How is that going to protect people? We have to understand, people don't want to seek death. They're in a truly terrible time of their life. They need support. They need a situation where the doctor says, I won't kill you. I'll help you through this terrible situation. We don't need assisted suicide. We need good end-of-life care. We need a supportive culture.
It's almost, you say, 27 states have got some kind of legislation going on in the previous year. That's alarming. That's an alarming number of states at the same time.
What actually is important about that is it's being defeated everywhere. We're defeating these bills one after another, and sadly we lose here. So there's a few states that now have legalized assisted suicide. The other side is constantly on the go. They're trying to pick away one more state. We're defeating it all over the place. So this is not a situation where they say, oh, it's being accepted everywhere. In fact, it's being defeated everywhere. The problem is they gain one state and suddenly, oh, the tide is turning. Sadly, though, California is a big loss. It's not over yet. There's a lot of people working to make sure it doesn't actually, in the end, get into place. They're going to challenge it in different ways. But the reality is we have to tell it what this is about. This is about a doctor gaining the right and law to cause your death. This is not about my choice, my autonomy. That's all a lie. That's the flag the other side waves to make the culture feel like this is what they want.
Yeah, such an important issue that almost is difficult to be engaged in unless you're personally involved in it. And I know many from afar, I know for a fact many from afar look at the issue and they know that it's wrong. How do you engage people into the issue when in fact it may not be something they're immediately working on?
Well, the key is we have to work with people from different points of view. And the most important group to be involved with is the disability community, because they have personal stories. They talk about how the culture and the healthcare ethic has changed and how they would simply not feel safe in a culture that allows assisted suicide. And it's about a personal story, it's a personal understanding of how the culture needs to protect everyone's life. And that's what's important. We have to be able to look at someone and say, okay, you know, I might fear a bad death. That might be true. We all might fear a bad death. But do you think that it's safe to do this and then allow somebody else's life to be taken? No, that's not right. Not at all. Out of my fear, no, that's not right. I can be taken care of without being killed. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. You know, I always think of the quote, and I'm blanking on the source of the quote, but it's, you know, if we are insensitive to the beginning of life and allow abortion, or callous at the end of life and allow euthanasia, we have no reason to believe there'll be any respect for life in between. So the connection is with how we live, our youngest and most vulnerable members and our oldest and most vulnerable, affects the day-to-day life and how we live.
Well, the culture has to affirm that lives are valuable, even when people are going through difficult disease and difficult conditions. The culture affirms that by saying, I will not kill you, I will care for you, I will not let you suffer, I will not let you be abandoned. I will care for you, I will make sure that you are not someone who the culture is simply saying, oh, I know you're in fear of a bad situation, we'll just give you drugs and kill you off. That's not about autonomy, that's not about justice, and that's certainly not about a culture of life.
Wow. Alex Schadenberg from Euthanasia Prevention Coalition, thank you so much for your work. Thank you for your highlight of that. It's almost dizzying to see the number of life issues that are surrounding a march like this, but at the same time, it's comforting that we're dealing with multiple issues with the same assembly of people, with the same sense and march of rally, of coming together for encouragement as well as education. So, Alex, thank you so much for the work that you do.
Thank you for your time.
Back to you, Doug.
Thank you, Damon. That's great. What I was thinking, Father, while they were talking out there about the idea of the Luciferian "I will not serve," this kind of exaggerated autonomy. I can do what I want to do with my body and my life, and that's why people are so busy trying to disconnect themselves from the Creator.